Hello and welcome to this week's video. Every 4 weeks I do a Procreate video where I use my fine art painting skills to create a digital painting. Today I'm going to show you how I painted this sighthound dog from this reference photo. This is a good one to show you how important your edges are in creating that fine art feel to your digital work. Let's jump in. Before I show you the video, let's have a look at the brushes that I used. These are the Wet Acrylic and the Turpentine brush. Notice these brushes do not paint true. The wet brushes always paint lighter. That's very important when selecting colour that I'll speak about later. I've painted the majority of this dog on 3 layers. Drawing. To make sure I get my drawing correct, I put my reference photo on a new layer and start a new layer above and draw around it. You can use something like a technical pencil. You can then toggle this on and off during the painting process to check you are correct. This will allow you to be really expressive with your strokes without worrying about your drawing. If you want to practice your drawing, then just do this freehand. Colour. I can place my reference photo on my artboard in the following way: Settings, Canvas, Reference Photo, Import. This will then allow you to select any colours in the reference photo by holding your finger on the photo. However, a word of caution, remember not all your brushes paint true. The oil brushes paint lighter, so you may need to adjust the colours you select by going darker, more saturated or perhaps more muted. Let's now have a look at my time-lapse video and I'll talk you through the important parts of how I did this painting. Background. When I start this artwork, I wasn't sure if I was going to paint it as it is or maybe leave a plain background. About halfway through, I decided to add the doors to give the dog context. I did my background and shadow on my first layer. I selected an average colour and just filled my whole canvas like this. Blocking. I start a new layer and start to block in my dog with the wet acrylic on about 85 opacity. I use the pressure sensitivity of the pencil. When I do the shadow, I switch to my background layer. I then block in my main value areas of my dog. It really is very simple and quick if you use the colour picker to help you. Make sure your strokes are sketchy and loose. I did this block in very quickly, maybe in 20 minutes. You'll hit a limit with the wet acrylic where everything starts to look a little bit blocky and you will need to start paying attention to your edges. This is when you need to switch to your turpentine brush. Edges. The success of this painting depends on my ability to pull those edges about. Hard edges. A hard edge is where you can clearly see the edge of your object. The darker values in the door, the obvious edges of the dog. Hard edges focus your eye to that area. A camera tends to sharpen all edges, but our eyes do not see like this. They see a central point of focus and then everything around the periphery begins to blur out. Therefore, if you want an arty feel to your work, you should use hard edges sparingly. Otherwise, you'll end up with something that looks cartoony. Our wet acrylic will give us our hard edges in this painting. Soft edges. A soft edge is where you see less of a transition between your objects. This is usually due to your values being closer together. If I turn this reference photo into black and white, you'll see what I mean. So for example, our shadow is a soft edge. Also, at many points, the edge of my dog is closer in value to its background. I can use the wet acrylic for a softer edge as long as I use it on a lower opacity and make sure my strokes are larger. The turpentine brush will give me a softer edge. Lost edges. A lost edge is where you see very little transition between your objects. This is usually where your objects are very close in values. For a lost edge, I would use the turpentine brush and would pull one edge into the other just like this. You'll also notice that I soften a lot of my hard edges using this technique. I am doing this because I do not want your eye focusing here or here. I want my viewer's eye to move around the painting, so I break my edges but keep them tighter around the face and on the dog's legs. The dog's face is my central point of focus. You'll also notice that my lines are deliberately not straight in those doors. This is to give it a sketchy feel. I have then broken the sharpness with my turpentine brush in various places. I'm using my wet acrylic where I need to block in an area quickly. I will then use my turpentine brush to pull the edges if need be, or I will use my turpentine brush to create softer brushwork and edges. For example, this highlight here on the dog's shoulder. The wet acrylic would have given me a line that was too harsh. Detail. This painting is really not about detail. You can get away with very simplified shapes as long as you get your main values correct, you focus on your edges and also make sure the obvious temperature shifts are present. The reason why those doors look convincing is because I have my warm and cool temperature shifts and values correct. They are not as detailed as my reference photo, but they do not need to be. You'll see I block them in on a new layer very quickly with a wet acrylic and then start establishing my temperatures, values and destroying some of my edges. I've done the same on the pavement where my dog is sitting, broken up the big blocks with some temperature shifts that are similar in value to the main colour. This is enough to give it a bit of variety. When I zoom in, you'll see I have an incredibly loose painting, but because my values and temperatures are correct, it will work. Using the colour picker should help you get those two correct. How you then manipulate your edges is what will make it feel painterly. To sum up then, understand the marks your brushes make. Use the blocking to get your basic shapes mapped in. Your colour picker should help you with your values and temperatures. Use a brush like the turpentine to manipulate your edges. Paint loosely, do not focus on detail. If you would like to come and paint with me in oils, join my workshop on the 3rd of July. You'll find the link in the description below. There are also more details of lesson opportunities on my website, sarahhallidayart.com. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss future painting tips. Thank you for watching and see you next week.